Good afternoon and welcome to the Hibs Observer Tuesday afternoon briefing with myself. And I'm joined by Patrick McPartlin all the way from the Netherlands at Hibs training camp to get the latest as to what's been happening. David Gray and his side flying out there on Sunday and getting to work over the past couple of days. Patrick, thank you for joining us all the way from there. How are you getting on?
It's been good. A couple of days now. The weather is certainly a lot hotter than it was last year, which I think is probably not to the players' liking, but certainly to the coaching staff, just for a bit of proper warm weather work being carried out. But yeah, a lot of. I mean, Monday was a triple session. I think it was at least a double today, if not another triple, ahead of the friendly match with Duisburg tomorrow. So it's certainly the players getting put through their paces, and we've been able to sort of have a wee look at that, have a wee look at the sort of small-sided games, the drills that David Gray and the coaching staff are putting the players through. So it doesn't seem like that long ago since they broke up for the end of the season, but then in reality it isn't. And chatting to some of the players, it's just very much sort of back to it almost as quickly as they stopped. So a lot of hard work being done and a lot of heavy drinking of water being done too because of the temperatures, which are currently in the mid-30s. So very much a warm weather training camp in every sense of the word.
I was going to say that pushing 34 degrees, was it? I mean, there's just no need for that, really. There's no need for it to ever be that warm for me. It's a bit much to take, but I think I think the chance to get sort of like that warm weather training is what they missed out on last year in a kind of same part of the country, which was I think there was a bit of rain last year. There was some clouds. Certainly no days or temperatures like this. So I think those who are quite fancy pre-season summer hot have certainly been treated this year. So careful what you wish for. Right enough. How's it? How's it kind of looking around the place? Obviously, there'll be a few new faces in the training sessions. Obviously, a lot of returning faces as well. Rocky Bushiri back involved. I know you said Joe Newell back in training. Him and Rudy Milotnikov going through their own kind of personal training program. As you said, so what's your kind of impressions so far? You said you're maybe going to speak to some of the new guys. We can expect to hear that soon. How's that all been?
Yeah, well, I think the club's made a big thing about bringing in players who will fit in well to the group, who will sort of slot in seamlessly to the dressing room and on the pitch. And it certainly seems to be going that way. The likes of Jamie McGrath, Josh Mulligan, Raphael Salinger as well. Taking part in various drills. Certainly looks like they've been here for a lot longer than just a couple of weeks. So I think it certainly seems as though signings will fit into what David Gray wants to do. Signings will fit into taking the club forward. And I think that's just the big thing really has been, just how tight-knit the group seems. I think they made such a big thing about wanting to keep as much of the group together as possible because of how good last season had been. So Martin Boyle on a new contract, triggering the extension, and Lewis Miller's contract as well, as you say, sort of getting Rocky Bushiri tied down as well. It's just sort of maintaining that sort of good feeling, that kind of positivity in the camp, which I think we've got the European games coming up soon. And a chance to build on last season's third place finish in the league. That's all you can really ask for. But at the same time, you want players who are going to come in and improve the squad. You want players who are going to come in and push those who are maybe starting or take starting berths themselves and and kind of inspire the players they've replaced to kind of kick it up in training. So it's I think it's certainly a very positive vibe coming from the training camp. A lot of laughs at the training sessions, despite the heat, despite the hard running. So it just everything feels sort of very positive. And it's not it's not that long ago that it certainly didn't feel like this. So yeah, I think the new players seem to be settling in well. Obviously, those who are those who were here last season have extended. Speaking to Rocky Bushiri on Monday and interrupted by Jack Iredale coming past to see how happy he was that his defensive colleague had stayed on. So little things like that, little vignettes like that, sort of tell you how sort of like tight knit this squad is and how much it means to them to sort of be keeping as much of the squad together going into a new season.
Yeah, you were saying that you got to speak to Rocky yesterday. I think it was Martin Boyle as well, but just kind of Rocky in particular. Obviously, folks should be able to read that interview on our website if you're a subscriber to the Hibs Observer. But I mean, what did you sort of take away from getting to speak to Rocky now that he's
his future sorted out, the new contract's done and dusted, and that's him kind of back to work, if you like.
Yeah, I think, nothing ever really seems to sort of flap him. We've seen that on the pitch. Even in sort of like high pressure moments, he's very cool, calm, and collected. And I think that, he's sort of said a couple of times that, the nature of the clubs that are interested in him, there is that little bit of doubt. You start looking around and thinking, is there, is it the right time to make a move? Is there something else that takes my fancy here? But I think at the same time, it's about what the club can offer the player as well as what the player can offer the team. And it seems like, reading between the lines, Hibs made a very good pitch to him along the lines of, this is probably a place where you're going to be playing, virtually every week. We play a system that suits you. You're getting sort of, regular international call-ups as a result of that. And I think you can look at how good he was last season, but then you can flip that and say it was only half a season, really, or a little bit over half a season. And I think for him, he's a player who wants to improve season on season. He wants to get better all the time. And I think sort of giving him that sort of target to say, you need to at least equal, if not better, how well you performed in the second half of last season. And I think, obviously, like, he loves the club, and he says himself that he feels loved here. He sort of feels like home, and I think just having players who feel comfortable, who feel happy in what they're doing, I think probably makes a big difference. And I suspect, even though he did admit to being sort of tempted by some of the offers coming his way, I think that will have played a big part in convincing him to stay. And also, it means that if he sort of continues playing as well as he has been, if he plays even better, and then there is further interest, player was saying this himself, teams are interested will have to pay big money to get him, which would be like a win-win for all parties.
Yeah. Martin Boyle in good form as always as well, I'd imagine.
Yes, quite kind of frightening when you realise that it was only, I think, 21 days ago today that he was helping Australia to qualify for the World Cup. So you consider the fact that he's fitted in a family holiday in that time and a return to pre-season with Hibs. It's really not it's really not an awful lot of time off. So I think that's that's something that the coaching staff and the sort of medical and performance staff are going to have to keep a close eye on. Is just the boys who are on international duty, just making sure they're not being overworked, kind of easing them back into it, because as we know, those who hadn't been away with their countries did come back a little bit earlier, and then those who had been on international duty came back slightly later. So it's I think just about managing the loads and things like that. But I think after such a good season for Boyle on a personal level, he's just really keen to kind of pick up where he left off. Talking about his not setting targets, but the one target is just to get that one goal to get to 100 for Hibs. So I think a player who's going into the new campaign kind of revitalised and reinvigorated after his sort of wee blip, as he called it, in sort of midway through last season, where he was dropped to the bench, maybe didn't come back from his injury as well as he would have liked. But again, I think credit to David Gray for how he's kind of turned.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks. We seem to have lost Patrick. This is the danger of doing these things live. I'm afraid at times he was, trying to report from outside to give you an impression of how that Dutch weather is treating him. But we are. Oh, wait, he's back. I thought we'd lost you for good there, Patrick.
Sorry, someone came past with a pint, and you know what it's like. I'm not proud of myself, but these things happen. No, a little bit of technical difficulties there, but we are back. So yeah, just talking about Martin Boyle, really positive season for him on a personal level last year, and I think just really keen to kind of kick on to get the chance to play again in Europe, and also with that World Cup squad. For Australia coming up, he just kind of wants to be in a place where he knows he can perform and sort of take things to the next level. And at Hibs, he's sort of well supported by the coaching staff, by his colleagues, and again, it goes back to what I was saying before about players being happy, being comfortable. And I think, what was it, 20 goals, 11 assists last season is a heck of a return, his best in Hibs colours, and he'd be going some to better that this year. But he's speaking like a man who certainly wants to give it his best shot. So I think that will be certainly interesting to see once a new season comes around.
Yeah, so the past couple of days Hibs been on the training pitch, but it starts to kind of pick up from tomorrow. Patrick, doesn't that a first friendly of the summer?
Yes, a rerun of last year's sort of summer training camp friendly against Duisburg in Germany. it was a kind of narrow 1-0 win for Hibs last time around. It was Josh Campbell with a late header from a corner. But I think, Duisburg had a good season. I think they got promoted to the second tier, so that'll be a different prospect. And obviously, there's probably a little bit of a rematch to be had from last year. Duisburg will want to give a better account of themselves. Hibs will want to, keep the bragging rights, if you can keep bragging rights from a friendly game. But I think that'll be a really good test, just to see where where the players are. I mean, given the heat, they've sort of pushed the time back. I think it was due to start at 1 p.m. local time. It's now going to be 11 a.m. to try and kind of beat the heat. And I'd imagine it'll be either one of those games where it's played in kind of 3 segments with plenty of water breaks, and I imagine it'll be players will be not sort of overworked, shall we say. But it's difficult to take too much from these games. But there is, there's always there's always something to be seen, whether it's a shape, whether it's a player playing in a certain position, that sort of thing. We saw a bit of that last season, in pre-season, with players playing in sort of slightly unusual positions. I think it's also worth pointing out there were players who joined late last season who didn't get pre-season with Hibs. So I think it'll be interesting to see just what we could get with them. Sort of looking at Kieran Bowie this morning in training, for instance. Obviously another was away in international duty, but looking sharp, looking fit, looking ready for the new season. And same with folk like Jack Iredale, people who signed late on. I think just having that pre-season, not that they really need it, but I think that'll just be a sort of big boost for the coaching staff, just seeing how how they're playing, how they get the time. It's a chance to try things out. It's a chance to test out new formations, that kind of thing, but also see how the new players who've just arrived, how they integrate as well. So we'll hopefully have plenty of content from that tomorrow after that game's over, and we can see how Hibs are shaping up, how they fared in their first game, and then obviously onto the second friendly weekend against Ajax, which will be a different test again.
Yeah, very different test, I think. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the friendly tomorrow, I think if you can, I mean, thinking back to last year, the summer sort of kicked off with that friendly against Edinburgh City. I think it was at Meadowbank, and I think these first games it's as generally as you kind of say that it is really all about just getting minutes in the guys' legs. I think there was 2 different 11s played that day. A lot of guys played 45, then a completely different side for the second half. So I mean, it is really just about that. I think in terms of how they work it, they sort of build up minutes. It's not anybody going to get thrown in for 90, especially in that heat at this stage. I think it's like kind of every other pre-season. You'll start to see it build up as the weeks go by. And I seem to have lost Patrick again there, folks. I mean, we'll give it a wee minute to see if he rejoins us. But as I say, he is trying to report live from outside. So he's back. He's back again.
Back for a short time only.
Short time only. If you've got any questions for Patrick, I suggest you get them in right now before we lose them. We lose them permanently for good. So yeah, just as we were saying there, tomorrow it'll be all about just getting minutes into the legs of different players. I think you talk about guys like Kieran Bowie and how important the pre-season could be for folk like him, because he sort of spent the entirety of last season either out injured, recovering from injury, or trying to get himself back up to sort of full speed. And I think when, he came back into the side and he did well a lot of the time last season, but it's still, these guys, they don't get to train as they would in terms of getting their full fitness back up. There's a lot of just when it's game after game after game, these guys, they can't quite get that sort of full bank of fitness that they could have got if they'd had a full pre-season behind them. So that's why it's kind of so important for guys like him. And I think there's obviously like a psychological benefit as well, just knowing that you have that bank of work behind you. So it'll be interesting to see how guys like him progress and how they fare from just kind of, as I say, getting that bank of work behind them. And so the rest of the week, Patrick, is going to be sort of more training. And then obviously that Ajax friendly on Saturday. But as far as sort of content from us over the next couple of days, what can we expect from yourself?
Well, I mean, certainly plenty to come. Hopefully no more interrupted connections. But no, we'll be speaking to David Gray, I think, on...
Really sorry about this, folks. As I say, it is difficult to do this from outside when you don't know exactly how the Wi-Fi is going to be treating you. Hopefully, Patrick will be back with us in a wee moment here.
Somebody clearly doesn't want me to be speaking. Maybe to take that. I'll try and rip through this as quickly as possible, just in case. But speaking to David Gray later this week, we'll be speaking to him and probably a player or two after tomorrow's game as well, just to get a few thoughts on how that's gone. But I sort of more relaxed sit down with the head coach on Thursday, I think, and hopefully a few more kind of player interviews as well. Just speaking to some of the new boys, speaking to some of the guys who've already been here, just a chance to catch up, really, away from the kind of usual kind of pre-match press conference mode where it's you can almost kind of guess the content before you hear what they say. It's just it's a chance to kind of cover a little more kind of interesting topics, different ground, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think certainly a few more of them to come. Hopefully some more video content. Some quite hurtful comments about my attempt at artistic filmmaking this morning. Asking, hiding in a bush and things like that. Which is the last time I ever try and bring kind of art house to the Observer. But all joking aside, it's it's, so long as I don't need a Wi-Fi connection outside, I think I'm sorted. So as much content as we can bring. Club's been really good in terms of letting us speak to as many players as possible. So there'll be that. There'll be speaking to the manager, and I don't know, potentially other unseen news as well. Just have to wait and see what happens this week. So as we know with football, it can move very quickly and very suddenly. So we shall see.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, I think we're going to leave it there because obviously Patrick's been having quite a torrid time trying to keep that Wi-Fi connection going. So we're just going to wrap it up in case it does eventually go permanently. But Patrick, thank you for joining us. Thank you for updates. Hopefully that gives you a wee insight, folks, into what things are like over there in the Netherlands just now. Sun shining, players working hard, but a distinct lack of working Wi-Fi, unfortunately. So hopefully we can sort that out.
You can't have it all.
No, you can't have it all, unfortunately. Thanks for joining us, folks. Do stay tuned to the YouTube channel and the website through the rest of the week. As Patrick says, we'll have plenty of content to bring you from the training camp, so do keep an eye out for that. But for now, thank you very much. Speak to you again soon. Cheers.